What's going on, everybody? My name is Mezariah and I am back with another video. Today's video is going to be titled If Only You Knew. If Only You Knew. And I named it that because a lot of us don't know that our warfare, most of our warfare, 95% of our warfare comes from people. And I said that in my other video. And we have to bring more awareness for believers in God that our warfare comes from people, especially when it comes to betrayal. Betrayal will get you so entangled in so many different things. It changes the trajectory of your life. I always say how people can come in and change the trajectory of your life because that was such a pivotal thing in my own life, in my testimony, what I had to learn how certain events can play out without you even knowing, and your life is dwindling away. And it's important to know what is at the other end of those problems that you're going through, and most of them are people are at the other end of those issues. It's 9 times out of 10 is always another person tied to you, and we have to understand detachment, knowing how to detach to people. I understand we have to congregate, get to know each other in the body of Christ, and understand that is important. But we have to also be able to be on our own. We have to understand how to talk to God, because a lot of us are in idol worship when we rely on everybody else to get the answers. We should all be flowing in the spirit in some way. We should all be hearing from God, talking to God through dreams, through visions, through prayer. If God talks to you audibly, it should be happening, and we should be having those relationships. Because if you start to depend on other people, then, especially to hear from God, then you know that turns into idol worship. But I want to say the the warfare. Let's get back to the warfare. Getting back to the warfare is important because my testimony, it stems from not knowing or not having discernment of the people in my life, not knowing where I went wrong. And we get so caught up in trying to be the good guy, you know what I mean, and not wanting to hurt feelings, not wanting to do people wrong or any way they may feel. But we forget about the self-love, not to be lovers of yourself in a way that is wicked or haughty or anything like that, but in a way that you love yourself enough to leave certain relationships. You love God enough. You know, God is going to see if you're worthy enough to follow him, to walk with him. And we don't realize how people play such a huge part by distracting us, keeping us from our destiny, keeping us from God's will. And a lot of us are oblivious to those things because when I was young, I didn't know that people come into your life as through like a spiritual portal in a way. And they say you always supposed to figure out who this person is that comes in your life, who these people are that come in your life, and they come in your life for a reason. And unbeknownst to you, it's because you have opened doors, most likely, and you have given sin the legal right to manifest, and given the devil legal right to manifest in your life through other people. And it's a tormenting game. It's a cycle that you have to go through to be refined. When you realize one day that all of these people are here because of me, because of what I was doing, what I did, what I opened up, the discernment that I didn't have, that I lacked. And it's really a horror story when people don't get to see that. They don't get to make that revelation, because you have people going years and years side by side with the same people, that are causing all the problems in your life every single day. And because you are not filled with knowledge, you are destroyed, just like the Most High said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And that verse can be layered in so many different ways, because we every day people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, not knowing who their enemy is, not knowing how to move, not knowing what God is saying. It's a lot that you can be lacking, and it costs you so much just by being around the wrong person. It costs you so much, and it's not worth it, because you'll be filled with so much regret when you realize what has taken place, what people have really intentionally taken from you, especially those spiritual things, the virtues, the gifts. And then you have the tangible blessings that they probably taken from you, you know. And now you're stuck battling curses, you're battling all of these different afflictions that you didn't have to, had you known that all you had to do was detach yourself from certain people, no matter who they are. And I'll always continue to stress this, because it plays a part in my life that I'm sensitive to, because I understand having so many people in your life and not knowing who you are as a person, and thinking that you need so many people in your life to fulfill you. And you don't. You don't. It's just you and God. And sometimes you have to be angry enough, righteous anger. I like to call that righteous anger. When you are angry at the right things, you should be angry with yourself, and for enough that you'll take accountability to make the right decisions, to stay away from the wrong people. Because man, oh man, everybody knows my story of a destiny exchange, and people swapping lives with each other, not knowing that that's a horror. And we have to be more cognizant of spiritual things like that. We can lack knowledge in just about any place. We don't just lack biblical knowledge. Sometimes we lack the knowledge of evil. It does us some good when we do know how evil works, knowing our enemies, being wise as a serpent. A serpent is going to know to study his enemy. A snake is going to know how to study his enemy, and that's why you have to be wise as a serpent. So when you understand the power of witchcraft and evil things being done to you through the spirit that some evil people have access to, then you'll wake up. You'll realize how wicked this world is. It's a reason why Ezekiel got snatched out of his own body, and God took him to the heavens and showed him all the people that were doing things in secret, thinking that God wasn't looking at them. And Ezekiel saw all these things take place. And this was in another dimension that he was in. So while we're doing things here on earth, God sees us in another dimension doing all of these things in his eyes, in front of his eyes, and all the people that think they're getting away with the things they do in secret. Think about that. You know, it's so funny how just about everything God does, the devil mimics. Because if you think about worship, God does everything in secret. He wants us to give in secret. He wants us to pray in secret. He wants us to fast in secret. And then you have witches, which is part of the kingdom of darkness. They do everything in secret. They join covens in secret. They do witchcraft in secret. They plot in secret. It's a reason why God told us to pray against the enemies that plot in I think it's Psalm 64. Protect us. It says protect us from the secret counsel of the wicked, the secret. So everything that God does, the devil wants to do, just on another perverted level. Everything he does, he mimics. He's not original. Nothing he does is original. So he wants to follow the original. And he wants you to think that he is the grand master of spirituality, of, you know, the how the spiritual rules work and all of that, right? And then you have these demonic people in God's world, in the spiritual realm, breaking and entering in God's world, trying to do demonic things to afflict his children. And here you are coughing all day, not knowing where that cough came from, and your best friend just did a spiritual attack on you. Here you are just in the hospital getting diagnosed with cancer, and your grandmother or your aunt just put a root on you, and you're just stuck not knowing where did this come from. You reduce it to the physical things. Well, maybe I ate this and I was eating too much and I was doing this and I was causing this, which could have been the case, but everything has a spiritual root. And you would think that it's not that many people doing witchcraft. Oh, but there are many. Oh, but there are many. If only you knew. That's exactly why this video is titled If Only You Knew. When you are being afflicted so much, you feel like sometimes there's no choice but to cry out to God. Especially when you're at your wit's end. There was a time in my life where I was so fed up with going through so many different things, and God will allow that to happen to you so you can put two and two together, so you can realize, okay, something is clearly going on in my life. This is all spiritual, because there's no way that one person has to go through all of these things at once. And that warfare, those afflictions, get you to that place of peace. It gets you to that understanding of changing your life and doing the right thing, taking the accountability, because the warfare is so great that you have to, it's like you know you have to surrender. We subconsciously know that we have to surrender to God to make this stop. We know the things that we do, but as you grow in your spirituality, you'll learn more and more how God will unpiece the puzzle for you while you're busy taking an accountability. And that's why God does it, because he reveals it in a way that you take the accountability first, and then he reveals your enemies to you. Because if you get revealed your enemies too quick, you're not going to take the accountability. All you're going to do is blame everybody else and blame everybody else, and then you'll have a heart of stone. You'll have unforgiveness in your heart, just lingering in your heart from day to day, year to year, and it will never go away. So when you take the accountability, you look at yourself, you reflect, and you're like, wow, I caused all of these things to happen in my life. It was all me. And then one day God is like, well, now that you're ready, here you go. This person was behind this attack. That person was behind this attack. And then it becomes a rabbit hole of un, unbelief, not in a way that you're not believing in God, but just you're marveling at the betrayal, the the things that you see that God is exposing to you, what people's intentions are. It's crazy, it's scary, and it's really just mind-boggling to have that opened up to you in a way that so many people are against you, and so many people are trying to fight you in the spirit. And now that you have access, and now that you're ready, now that you have reflected and did what you're supposed to do first, now you have the power to fight in the spirit against those people that were afflicting you. And the way that you fight is not the way that you think. It's with strategy, it's with peace, it's with love, it's with prayer for those people that are afflicting you, depending on what they're doing, depending on the time that they have. depending on the mercy that God wants to give them. But there are different things that we have to learn how to fight properly against these people, against these spirits, really, these spirits that have inhabited people. And that's what you're fighting. Ephesians 6 tells us that we're fighting against those principalities, the darkness, the spirits. This is a spiritual war, always. And you'll start to understand what forgiveness really looks like when we know how all of the things that we do is linked to the spiritual world, linked to the demonic entities, and people are being used as puppets to create wars and create harm or do harm to others on a great level and on a smaller level. You'll see. It's like, okay, I get it now, because if they're being used, then 9 times out of 10 they don't really know what they're doing. Some of them do know what they're doing, but some of them don't really know how deep it really goes. And this is why I always talk about, like, with narcissistic people, and then you have regular people that are amongst narcissistic people. Both of them don't really know how deep this really goes. So that's why they stay in those entangled relationships, not knowing the depths of evil and the depths of how good a person is and how bad a person is. None of them really know the depths until they understand spirituality on another level. It goes and goes and goes and goes, and knowledge is so infinite. But you guys, I'm done for today. I just wanted to share that with y'all. I'm a little late with this video, but I'm out. That's it. That's all. I love y'all.